Hi and hello. After finishing this little animation and getting all that positive feedback, I decided I would like to explain how I went about making it. Um, don't expect anything too crazy or polished, more of me rambling and my general process during it. I started with my thumbnails after thinking one too many nights about how I want Sifrin, our little rogue here, to finally go home after the loops. I had this very clear picture in my head how the entire family would look out towards the ocean and see the silhouette of the island. You know, something vague but hopeful of them being able to reach it if they tried. My brain kind of latched onto that vibe. Um, but by the way, if you don't know the game and wonder what I'm talking about, how did you get here? Play the game. It's good. Come back and get even more emotionally wrecked. It's worth it. Back on topic. That the shot to me was the essential one, so I worked backwards on the rest. There is the general camera rule that you shouldn't switch sides, as in there's a 180-degree angle the camera can move on without the viewer getting whiplash. Unless you want to give the viewer whiplash or you have a very slow scene into a fancy camera movement or whatever else fun rule breaking you want to do. For this, there was no rule breaking, too tiny time frame to try and not break someone's neck. Yeah. Anyway, since I had the shot planned out, I decided to have Stefan pretty much run towards the shore and kinda collapse to his knees with his family trailing behind. The falling to knees motion was the second really vivid part of my idea, especially the facial expression where Sifrin realizes that, oh, that's my island. It's right there. I can see it. You know, the utter shock and disbelief. And then I needed to get him to the shore, so I just thought about what would look nice. Here you see I wanted to have all of them rushing down a big hill at first, but decided against it, because the thought of animating 6 people running down a slope with a very funky angle was a bit terrifying, and I didn't want to do that. So instead I switched to a fun log Sifrin can jump over, and then breaking through the forest, beach, tree line, towards sand thing, yeah, that's the one, and then land on the dock. I felt like something fast-paced, something desperate and wild, leading into something slow and unsure, would be a nice contrast. When you have fast cuts like this, it helps to have the character be in the same spot of the frame as the one before, or at least in the general area, so the viewer's eye stays focused on them. It's again to not confuse anybody and have them be unsure where to look at. A lot of people really like the little tiptoe balancing act Sifrin does, and to be entirely honest, I just made a mistake where I wanted to move his entire body to the side for a bit for the general area rule, and instead I copied the picture, and then when letting it run, it kind of looked like they were balancing themselves out, and I went, alright, I'm keeping that, and then shoot on that. Shot for a month. Very fun. Only lost an 8 of my sanity. It's fine. How does Sifrin's cloak work? No one knows. I hoped for the best and spent 2 days making it flap to the side so it looks satisfying. This one line carries all of the weight. What a trooper. The line was the essential part of this animation. Around this point, I had to decide what I wanted for the background, as in actual background and, sound-wise. I see a lot of people just animate on a white background and grids, and that's enough for them. And usually for headshots and upper body animations, that's also for me a working method. But for full body stuff, I'm not talented enough to figure out angles. Grids make my head spin. So I like to draw them first in full, animate them if needed, like if you need swaying trees or if the camera, like imagine if you move the camera on and the background moves backwards or something, like in an animated background. And I do that first and then animate the figures on top of it. It's easier for me to animate a person running when I know where they're gonna actually step than having to imagine and then draw the background afterwards so it fits. I got nothing really to add here. Just look at my backgrounds. I think they turned out pretty. Music-wise, I listened to the soundtrack a bunch of times and narrowed it down to the title theme. I kind of really wanted to make an island north of Vogard work, and decided that's too low energy. I really wanted, like, because of the title, but it didn't work. And the beats of the music were great for the transitions, like the title theme. So I timed the shots to fit them better. I got kind of really lucky there, especially with Sifrin's almost tumble. Maybe it was meant to be. Still lost Nate of my sanity, but I'm good. It's also kind of nice to think that the new journey would start with the title theme. You know, new adventure ahead. They're gonna go explore the island and get Sifrin's memories back or something, you know? From there, it's trial and error pretty much. The way I animate isn't very time-saving, since I do 3 to 4 passes, as in I animate real rough with frames missing and the characters looking like they are wearing full body jumpsuits. Then I animate rough, where I put every frame but the characters in my style, just to get them on paper real fast so I don't lose the motivation. And then I actually redraw every frame with the character on model. It helps me to catch mistakes, mostly limb proportions and the flow of energy at the beginning, and later down the line the janky movements. Speaking of mistakes and janky movements, there were 3 hard parts for me to animate, and I want to whine about them, because I can. The first one is where Sifrin walks slowly towards the point where he collapses. I wanted to start with the head like I usually do, but this time I had to do the boots first so I could plant them correctly. And it's not something I'm used to, so that was sure a sleepless night where I looked at boots and legs and wondered how I'm ever going to construct the rest of the body. That was a nightmare. The second would be Sifrin's laughing, because so much goes into a laugh, like shoulders hunching, mouth open and closing slightly, head bobbing up and down. A lot goes into it, and I had to do it while they talk too, from different angles, so it was me copying frames and fixing the mouth and chin constantly and trying to make the lip sync still readable, even if you can't hear them talking. Yeah, that was bad. And the last thing was Isa spelled, because I love you so much, my boy, but why the squares? I cried for an entire day into my friend's ears about it. How could you betray me like this, Isa? Why do you have this design? Also, as tip, never ever underestimate the time it takes to draw a simple wind blowing scene, or a simple riding of the glasses Odile does, or a simple flinch, or a simple flick of the hand, earrings moving, blinks of the eye. Simple means you spent 3+ months on your PC for a 45-second animation with your head in your hands and wondering why you did that to yourself, and if it's worth it for the couple of notes you're gonna get. It was worth it, simply alone for the fact that so many people went berserk in my notes. It's good to know I'm not the only one who really wants to see Sifrin go home. I think we all just really want them to go home. Yeah, which pretty much concludes my ramblings. Mayhaps you learned something small from this, from the 2-3 lessons I snuck in there, and at least you found my suffering entertaining. That's my hope. So yeah, thanks. Stay safe, everyone.